Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Only Stupid Answers. This is a show where we answer your questions about movies, TV shows, comic books, the DCEU, and my name is DJ Wooldridge, and with me, as always, is the maximum Roxy Stryer. Roxy, tell the kids at home how you're doing.
Yeah, maximum.
The maximum.
I feel like I am a little bit the minimum Roxy Stryer. Like today, it will be interesting because you guys are getting the maximum of my minimum. Like me at my maximum right now is minimum, but you get all of me.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Can you, for context, are you allowed to say what you were doing yesterday?
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Okay.
I was at Disneyland all day yesterday filming an episode for the World Girls, and it's just like a hell of a day because it's long. You know, when you go there for fun, which obviously everything's fun, you kind of go and then you leave when you want to leave. But this was like, we have to hit this, and we wanted to be there for the morning rope drop, and that's at 8 a.m. and there's 4 people that are going, and you're driving around the city to make sure you get there. So we're up at 5, which is just like is a whole different experience. So I'm today Wipe City.
Yeah.
And I'm not letting myself eat the rest of my caramel apple until noon, DJ.
That's a good plan. Yeah. You don't want to like have that sugar crash. You know, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. That's like a crazy crash.
So for the kids at home that will want to check out that content in the future, where could they go to check that out?
It's going to be on youtube.com/theworldgirls. And I will say that I've never done this before, but in the middle of the episode, there was one piece of footage that was so intense and so bizarre and disturbing that I sent it to my editor while we were at Disneyland and said, just a little preview of what's coming your way. And he wrote back all capital letters and was like, what the actual fuck?
What the hell? So be sure to tune in and check that out. I know when I go to Disney, it brings out my inner child in the best ways, in that there's a lot of joy and there's a lot of fun, but also in the worst ways, because around the midday when I'm getting a little hungry and it's getting a little hot and the lines are getting longer, I get fussy. And I need to sit down for a minute.
Yeah, I totally feel that. There seems to be a point where you guys go from everyone's talking to each other to everyone's enjoying the line waiting process and the food, like everybody's enjoying. And then there gets to the point where everybody goes mute. Like you're now just standing in line next to people that you are not saying a word to. You are not, like, you are there and you're going to do the ride because that you have been waiting for. But like there was a ride at the end of the day that was an 80-minute wait that we were doing. And we had already been at the park for 10 hours. And we're standing in line and it's like, all right, let's power through.
Yeah, man.
It's no longer like we're at Disneyland. It's like, you'll get through this. This will pass. This too shall pass.
I don't do lines. I struggle with lines. I have to be talked down for lines. That's when my wife and I go to Halloween Horror Nights, like we have a structure now. So it's like they usually do, you talk about the rope drop, they usually do this like opening ceremony parade thing. And it's like the second that shit happens, you don't do any rides. Some of the rides stay open after Halloween Horror Nights starts. You don't do any of the rides. You hit all of the mazes. You hit all of the mazes before the lines get bad. Then you do the rides. You know what I mean? And anyway, very cool. Be sure to follow Roxy, follow the World Girls, check that stuff out. Today, on today's episode, we are going to be talking about the future of the DCEU. It is as uncertain as it has ever been. And we're going to be diving into that. But first, a little business up top. As always, you can give us 5-star reviews on iTunes, and I will read that shiz here. Also, every week on Spotify, we ask you a question. Last week's question was, what movies or shows are you most excited for this year? Ray Raphael Alvarez answered Atlanta. And Yashu Wazalewski said, aside from the Batman, I'm excited for Don't Worry, Darling and Studio 666. Also 100% in on Multiverse of Madness. And of course, if you want to watch episodes like this live, if you want to check out our exclusive Patreon content, like What We're Into, or the show I do with Sal from Comic Pop Spider-Versity, you can do that over at patreon.com/Only Stupid Answers. We're going to be talking about Into the Spider-Verse soon, and I'm incredibly excited for that. But before we get into the show proper, let's talk about a little bit of news. First up, Roxy, did you see this concept art from Spider-Man No Way Home that featuring a Mr. Mysterio?
Yeah.
Would you think about it?
The internet seemed to have more intense thoughts than I did. This was a big internet. Is debacle the right word?
I don't know. A debacle, because debacle seems
negative. Yeah,
right.
A big internet hubbub.
Hubbub is good.
Yeah, it was a big internet hubbub. I didn't really have like too intense thoughts on it.
The interesting thing for me is, of course, there's the appeal of like, oh, we almost got a Sinister Six. Right. So on the one hand, and also Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio was a highlight of that film. So on those levels, it's like, oh, that would have been so cool. I will say, just as a practical structural note, I don't know that movie needed more things to do. It already had a lot to juggle.
Right. I mean, I just feel like at some point, every person they must have thought about every single villain that's ever been.
100%.
This just wasn't that big. The reason I guess it didn't phase me or wasn't as big of a hubbub to me is just like, I kind of low key think there's a lot of these pieces of concept art that would feature a lot of different.
Well, because we got the one with America Chavez. There was talks about how Venom could have factored in the finale. You know.
And so when you're doing a movie like this, you would be silly to not weigh out all of your options because there's so many.
Yes.
There's so many. This was an option, and I thought it looked really cool, but I'm also not upset that it didn't happen. So I guess that's why for me, I was like, interesting artwork.
Yeah, the one thing I kind of imagine the only thing that's kind of a bummer to me is, on the one hand, it would have been cool if one of Tom Holland's rogues was part of that group, because his rogues have been really solid. Also, in some ways, it kind of makes more sense than the other characters because and correct me if I'm remembering this incorrectly, Roxy, but if I remember correctly, the reasoning was these are all people that knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man that got yanked over. Right? That was the reasoning that was given to why these characters.
Because that's what I was trying to think about what the actual verbiage was, but yes, they all knew. Yeah. But not that it was this Peter Parker, but that it was
Peter Parker Spider-Man, which is great until you think about the fact that I don't think Electro knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man. I don't think that was ever some information that he was given in that movie. Also, Tom Hardy's Venom definitely didn't.
No, I think he did.
Because we just covered it for Spider-Versity, and I'm pretty sure that was never information that was relayed to.
I just covered it too. Because I love that movie. You're right. I don't think he explicitly. I'm trying to think of that end there, but you don't know what happened.
Also, and remember, there's specifically that scene where Peter Parker takes his mask off, and Electro's like, "I thought he was black," which pretty much directly says, "Oh, you didn't know who Spider-Man was."
Yeah.
And then the fact that Tom Hardy's there and he doesn't even know about, as far as we know, doesn't even know about Spider-Man. And so at least with bringing in...
That's a really good point, TJ. I actually really don't know how that makes sense, because I was going to say, I think it's very safe to assume that Electro in the years since has figured out that it was Peter Parker, or in the moments that we didn't see, in the movie, like maybe he figured something out, or like maybe there was a Rhino conversation that
like Green Goblin told him or whatever. Right. But again, then there's that scene in the movie.
But then there's that scene in the movie. So that is interesting. Well, maybe he means that he always thought that one of the Peter Parkers was going to be black.
Maybe. Oh, but again, Tom Hardy got sucked over, and he doesn't even know what a Peter Parker is. I really enjoyed No Way Home. I do think.
Could somebody explain this to me?
I think the more you think about No Way Home, the less it structurally holds together. Point being that at least
I don't like this game, DJ.
The point being, at least with Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio, he did know that. And so whether it's the same Mysterio pulled through time or a different one, I do like the idea because it looks like in this art that he's fighting Doctor Strange. And his whole bit in Far From Home, light spoilers for Far From Home, was that he's an extra-dimensional warrior with magical powers. It would be funny if they actually pulled over a version of Mysterio that is an extra-dimensional war, but he also knows that Peter Parker's Spider-Man. And now as I'm saying out loud, I realize the hoops you'd have to jump through to explain this, and so it makes sense why it wasn't included.
Yeah, okay. I'm with you. How close do you think we were?
I am under the only thing that makes sense to me of why you would kill off Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio at the end of that movie is if Jake Gyllenhaal did not want to do other movies. So I'm going to assume not very close. Because otherwise I don't understand. They did such a good job of not killing Vulture, and they seem to have these movies left the impression that we're doing good jobs with these villains. Let's not get rid of them. And so it was kind of shocking to me that they killed him at the end of that movie. And again, in my brain, the explanation is, well, I guess Jake Gyllenhaal didn't want to do more than one. So I'm going to say not close. What do you think?
I think very not close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the more reasonable conversations are that when we're looking at the America Chavez's and we're looking at the Venoms, those were probably conversations that were happening of whether we could get the Tobey Maguires and the Andrew Garfields. And once that happened, that stuff got axed, which of course works for America Chavez because we didn't even know to consider that. There was a whole after credit scene in Venom. If it were me, I would have axed that scene as well. It was like, listen, if Venom's not in this movie, just cut that scene. The release dates weren't even that far enough apart that you could have just excised that scene entirely.
Totally.
Whatever.
I'm still stuck on what you said, and now trying to Google answers to that.
To that question.
Gotten any.
Again. Lovely movie.
I haven't heard anybody mention that, DJ.
Made me cry. Lovely movie, made me cry. I don't know that narratively it holds together much. Anyway, other piece of news that just broke yesterday. Miss Evangeline Lilly, the Wasp, Hope Van Dyne, the Wasp from Ant-Man and the Wasp, decided for some reason to let the world know that she was at this vaccine protest where RFK Jr. spoke. I don't know if you knew this, Roxy. He compared vaccine mandates to the Holocaust. I don't know if that was on your radar at all. And Evangeline Lilly was there, and she wanted us to know.
So how do we know that she was there? What was it? Obviously, I have a lot of thoughts on everything else that you just said, and I've been talking about it all week. The Evangeline Lilly part didn't cross my radar, probably because I'm in the middle of like the Jew part of it.
Well, and also it literally happened yesterday, and as we talked about earlier, you were busy yesterday.
So what came out yesterday about her, and what is it? Catch me up.
She posted a picture on her Instagram. It's a person from behind that I guess could be her, but we don't know, that has a sign of like, it's like Democrat and vaxxed, but against vaccine mandates is functionally what it's saying. That basically we shouldn't tell people to do this. And so she was like,
Democrats unvaxxed.
No, Democrat and vaxxed. Like this person, who's holding the sign is saying they are a Democrat and they are vaxxed, but they don't think it should be a mandate. They don't think we should force people to do that.
And that was not Evangeline Lilly.
We do not know. It was from behind. So we don't know if that's her or whatever, but this is the post she posted. And she said she was at this event, and she talks about how vaccine mandates are not the way, and we shouldn't force people to get vaccines. And this is one of those times where it's like, wow, it would have just been easier to shut up, just to not. I honestly don't care about your opinion on this. You could have just kept your mouth shut.
Yeah. Huh. So I'm looking now. CNN said that she attended. So it seems like she kind of just like offered this information up.
Yes. Unprompted.
Yeah.
So in this Daily Beast article, that's in the doc. It says, in a recent Instagram post, the Lost and Ant-Man and the Wasp actress said she traveled to Washington, D.C. this weekend to speak out on the support of, quote, medical sovereignty. In other words, to protest vaccine mandates. Lily attended the same protest where Speaker Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a notorious anti-vaxxer, compared vaccine mandates to the Holocaust. Yeah, and so if you look here, there's the sign is Vax Democrat for Medical Freedom. And again, we don't know. This is just a person. I don't think it is her. I think it's just at the rally.
We would have to assume. So we know that Evangeline Lilly was not vaxxed because we know she put up a massive stink about vaccinations and not wanting to be vaxxed.
Good for her.
I don't know now if for set purposes, maybe for set she had to get vaxxed.
Yeah, maybe.
Otherwise she couldn't work. And then maybe that could be her. But otherwise, I'm under the impression she's not vaxxed. The thing is that, like, if you're going to offer up this information that you were at this rally, you are aware enough to know what happened, even if you left prior to RFK Jr. speaking, which I don't know if she did or didn't.
Yes.
You are aware enough to know what he said because it's in the news.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're going to say you were there and you're not in support of what he said, those need to be the next words out of your mouth.
Yeah.
I want to let everyone know I was at this rally, that I have my issues with that in general. The fact that she's an anti-vaxxer, obviously I have huge fucking thoughts about that.
Yeah.
But if that's what it's about, then the next words out of your mouth need to be, I did not know what RFK Jr. was going to say. I'm, of course, not aligned with his thoughts. I think that what he said was anti-Semitic and extremely fucked up.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming she said this out loud because she thought she was going to get caught. She thought there was footage of her or somebody was going to out her or something. So if you want to get ahead of it, you need to get ahead of it. And she has not said one thing about, from what it looks like, his comments, which is just like so bad. And this has like been the worst week of anti-Semitism on my social media in several months, because I posted about this and like just the amount of people that agree with RFK Jr. is staggering.
Yeah.
Even though he's now apologized, which is, I still don't really get what his apology is for. This is what he believes.
Wait, so are you trying to suggest that telling people they need to get vaccinated for public safety is not the same as industrialized mass murder on a state scale? You're saying those aren't the same thing?
Yeah, so I have a whole hour-long show about this. Go check it out, Live with Roxy, where I explain the difference between being born Jewish, which is an ethnicity that you have no choice in, and being a virus.
Yeah. Because
apparently people need to explain why the extermination of a virus and the extermination of an ethnicity are two different things, which I didn't know needed explaining, but the more you live, the more you know. So I did a whole deep dive into this. And then we got the apology, and it's just like, this isn't the first time. It's not the 50th time. It's not the 5,000th time somebody has compared something to the Holocaust that has nothing to do with the Holocaust. Yeah. And I'm confused why that's become the baseline of our society. Like,
well, again, because we like to reach for we like to sensationalize things, and it's kind of the same thing when whenever we talk about like fascist leaders, we go to Hitler. There are other fascist leaders that our own fascist leaders might better resemble, but the only one we know is Hitler. And so what people are trying to say with stuff like that is fascism, is that. And what's interesting to me, I don't know about RFK or whatever, but with a lot of people with this, like, getting vaccine mandates is just like the Holocaust. It's like, well, don't pretend like you give a fuck about Jewish people. Don't pretend. Pretend like you would have given a fuck, because that's something that as you grow, like as an adult, you don't realize the significant amount of anti-Semitism that existed within America at the time.
Right. And the fact that we didn't go to help the Jews because it was the right thing to do. We just thought they were going to come over here and take our land. So we decided to go fight the fight. Which is why
that can happen. But the cultural concept is like, Especially, it is funny when you go back and watch old World War II movies and they specifically refer to them as German. That's the problem because they're Germans. It's like, well, the problem isn't that they're German. The problem is that they're fascists. And if the fascists are over here, that doesn't suddenly make it okay.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the craziest parts about this in terms of this show, because we are an entertainment news and entertainment theory show.
Yes. Why are we talking about this?
Is that it's not, people think, when you and I think about the people that believe that the vaccines are like the Jews being exterminated, when we think about people who think that, we think about like bunker people. You know, you think about people who like don't see the light of day and have never met a Jew in their life, and people who live in the middle of the country and are just like so out of fucking touch with reality. And then we see that this is a Kennedy and this is Evangeline Lilly. Yeah. Like, and it makes it so much harder to grapple with because we're talking about people that we see in our day-to-day life. I'm not saying that we see the Kennedys and Evangeline Lilly in our day-to-day life, but people see those people in their day-to-day life. Yeah. And those are people who come from education and people who come from wealth and people who come from privilege. Yeah. And those are the people who are rallying against the vaccine, which comes with its own set of issues. Yeah. But then comparing it to the Holocaust. Those are, you know, like in a world, DJ, where you and I continue in this industry and you're writing these big shows and kicking butt and I'm starring in them and whatever. Yeah. In that world, we're talking about then Evangeline Lilly is a peer. Like, and it's just, it's not these like, and bunker people's probably a term that I made up, but I think you know what I mean. Yeah. Like, I'm thinking about people from like Kimmy Schmidt breaking out of the bunker that they've been in for 20 years and being like, what is this vaccine thing? Yeah. But that's not who it is.
Yes. Yeah,
it's Kennedy.
And it's two thoughts with that. It's scary because we've got so many at least one significant existential crisis that we're currently dealing with, and one that we're also currently dealing with what is going to become a bigger issue in the future with climate change. And meanwhile, you got people, it's like, well, what about this thing? It's like, no, we resolved that 60 years ago. We need to, I thought we were past that. I can't go back and explain this to you now. We've got other things we need to deal with. That's just...
like we're rehashing things that are just ludicrous. And I've told this story before, but I think on a private show one time. So just like as a reminder to people that this shit doesn't go away. We'll never forget. I was in high school and I was dating this guy at the time who was the first love of my life. I mean, I was obsessed with him and he was a complete dirt bag, but he brought me over to his family friend's house for dinner. And I walked in and they had heard I was Jewish and they cut out a felt yellow star and made me wear it throughout dinner. And in
their brain, what was happening?
I don't know. I've thought about it for 15 years, DJ. Because I don't know, in their brain, is that funny? In their brain, was that you're not welcome here, but we have to have you? I don't know. I really don't know. And I say that because like, that was not that long ago. That was not that long ago. That was
within your lifetime.
That was within my lifetime. And if you're watching this, probably yours. You know, we get every year on MLK's birthday and Anne Frank's birthday, we get those things like Anne Frank would have been 92 this year, right? Like Grammy's 94 and Papo's 96. Yeah. There are people that are still alive that were those ages. And so when people feel like this is far away and we've tackled it, like we haven't. And there are people like a well-educated, wealthy Kennedy out here saying that what was worse, what's better than them forcing us to get vaccinated, which by the way is not being forced on you, but okay, what's better than that is hiding in an attic and then getting dragged out of that attic and put in a concentration camp and then fucking killed. Yeah. Like that's what we're gonna say is the better option. Or trying to jump the wall, which by the way, she was not found in Germany. So like history-wise, he was all over the place. Yeah. But trying to jump the wall with the chance of getting out safe but probably getting killed is a better option than trying to keep your loved one safe by getting medicine put in you. That's where we're at. So it's just like anytime this comes up, I just can't believe it feels like, what year is this? Like, who's speaking? You bunker child.
Yeah, and it's tough too because it's like I don't know what Evangeline Lilly's deal is. She, whatever. I would imagine, and I should say I also don't know what RFK's deal is, but I will say that there are a host of these people that have climbed out of the woodwork and ended up on Joe Rogan's podcast that make money off of this because it feeds into people's base fears.
Right.
And so just be aware of that stuff with like who's profiting from like, you know what I mean? It's not like some scientist that makes a vaccine is not going walking home a billionaire for not that they're, and that's the other thing is it's not that I also have concerns with our medical institutions and our government institutions. It's not like saying, well, they're unimpeachable. That's not what I'm trying to say. God damn it. It used to be 100 years ago when they were first learning vaccines, they had to cut your arm open and shove a giant metal tube in there and inject a scab. Now it's just a little shot in your arm. My God. Anyway, whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
I just go back to when Kurt Russell was like, hey, you know what? It'd probably be better if celebrities just kept their mouth shut. And I think back to that and you know what? Kurt Russell is a wise man because otherwise that's why we talk about this stuff on our entertainment show. Because they just won't shut up. Just keep it to yourself.
Like what are we supposed to do when it's a Kennedy and it's Evangeline Lilly and like that? There is no. I mean, our president for 4 years was a reality TV star, so there's just no.
Exactly. We've just fully gone off the rails.
What's the bound? When is it entertainment news and when is it news? There just isn't that anymore. And when every single thing that's true crime becomes a podcast and that becomes a TV show, like they're the same thing at this point.
Well, listen, on that note, we're going to go to an ad break and we will be back talking about the DCEU. All right, we are back and we are going to be talking about the DC universe. So here's where we're at with the slate of movies that are coming out. And right off the bat, this is one that's not part of when we're talking about the DCEU. I know that they weren't using that name, and then they were using that name. It's the DC Extended Universe. This is supposed to be their version of the MCU connected comic book universe. And right off the bat, we get one that's not technically part of that, which is the Batman, which is coming out in March. Now, then we're back into the connected universe.
I guess that's part of the extended.
The extended part of the multiverse part of it. You're right, because. All right, whatever. People at home hopefully know what I mean. It's like the Joker where it's not. It theoretically, as far as we know at the recording of this episode, Robert Pattinson's Batman is not going to be hanging out with Henry Cavill's Superman, although I would not mind that, just putting that out into the universe. If the choice was, as much as I love Michael Keaton, and I do, if the choice was between Michael Keaton's Batman and Robert Pattinson's Batman hanging out with Henry Cavill's Superman, one of those seems like a better long-term option is all I'm going to say. We're later this year, we're getting Black Adam. At the end of the year, we're getting The Flash. A month after that, we're getting Aquaman 2. We're also, apparently sometime this year, I thought the Batgirl movie was maybe, I didn't know the Batgirl movie was supposed to come out this year. It's supposed to come out this year on HBO Max. Next year, we're supposed to get Shazam 2, and we're supposed to get Blue Beetle. As far as projects that are in development, as of this recording, as far as I know, they're still possibly working on that Amazon show from Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns, which is supposed to take place between Wonder Woman 2 and 3. They're working on a Black Canary movie for HBO Max starring Journey Smollett and written by Misha Green. They announced an Our Man movie, which I don't think will ever see the light of day. We're also supposed to be getting a Static Shock movie produced by Michael B. Jordan and Reginald Hudlin, also for HBO Max. There's supposed to be a Supergirl movie starring Sasha Calle, who's supposed to show up in The Flash. Of course, we're getting a Wonder Woman 3, and there's talks of a Zatanna movie that's supposed to be part of the larger J.J. Abrams Justice League Dark project, which includes a John Constantine show, and then a Madam Xanadu show, which is all supposed to culminate in a Justice League Dark series. That is the stuff that we know we have. Of course, there's stuff like that's missing that was talked about and now has fallen off the face of the earth, like Black Hawks from Steven Spielberg, Booster Gold, Deadshot, Gotham City Sirens, Green Lantern Corps. We're getting that Green Lantern show. I don't know where that fits into any of this. There was Lobo, there was Nightwing, and there was a Metal Men show. And then there's the stuff we know is dead. So Batflick, the Batman, the original version of the Batman, done. I'm going to suggest that Ray Fisher's Cyborg is definitely on ice. Deathstroke, two Jared Leto Joker movies. One was Harley Quinn versus the Joker. Other was a Joker. Krypton, which was supposed to be about Man of Steel's version of Krypton. A Man of Steel sequel, which, Roxy, you brought this up a couple weeks ago. It feels like the easiest one of these to just shell out. I don't know why this one in particular has been delayed.
Yeah.
And then
also the Trench too.
Yeah, the Trench, which was supposedly supposed to be a Black Manta movie that they called the Trench to cover it up for whatever reason. And then New Gods, Ava DuVernay's New Gods, which again kind of got axed for kind of inexplicable reasons. So that's. Yeah,
DJ, this list is, I'm just like, remember there was a point of time that I was hosting a show called DC Movie News.
I recall.
So there was a point in time where I was talking for 7 years that I was talking about each one of these announcements. And every time it would be like, but even when they announced Shazam, right? And they announced Shazam 6 years before we saw Shazam.
Yeah, and there's talks about like whether Dwayne Johnson would be Shazam or Black Adam. Like that was
Black Adam, right. I mean, I remember thinking that was not going to happen too. So with DC, you just kind of don't know. There's so many things that then get greenlit, and then there's so many things that do happen, and then there's so many things that don't happen.
Yes.
That it kind of doesn't even matter what is announced.
It's true. That's until they start filming. It just you just don't know. And it is funny that you bring up your show, because I also, some of these, it's like, yeah, man, I remember covering some of this shit on fucking SourceFed.
Yeah.
Back in the day. God damn. So before we get into what we'd like to see, where we'd like to see this stuff go on a more practical level, what seems likely? Where do we, and I think for me, the biggest question is we've been seeing leaks from Batgirl. And we've been seeing stuff that seems to heavily imply, like Michael Keaton's supposed to be in that movie. We've seen like stuff that's it's Michael Keaton's Batman, and and the rumors on the streets are Flash is the last appearance of Ben Affleck's Batman, and we're going to transition to Michael Keaton's Batman, which is, I'm going to be honest, baffling to me. Like that's crazy talk to me, because Michael Keaton's like 70. Like, what? And then this is all supposed to take place in the Tim Burton universe. That's a very specific aesthetic that we're now going to foist upon. We're either going to ignore completely, which is kind of also weird, or we're going to foist that kind of like, no, our Gotham has this giant batshit crazy architecture. Like that, for me, that's the biggest like question mark is the Michael Keaton Batman of it all.
Yeah. So your question was, which of these are going to happen?
I guess more like, where do we see which of these are going to happen, and what shape is this connected universe going to take place? Because it does seem like we're going back to that idea, even though Warner Brothers has had a lot of success not doing that idea. So I don't know why we're going back to the thing that we really struggled with before.
Yeah. So where's Batgirl existing?
Batgirl is supposed to go straight to HBO Max, as far as I know, and it's happening sometime this year.
No, in what universe?
As far as I've heard, it is the main DCEU. So, like, it wouldn't surprise me, since they're also working on a Black Canary show with Journey Smollett. It's not a show, a movie. If Journey Smollett, which Black Canary might make a cameo, which actually, honestly, would be fucking great.
And Blue Beetle's supposed to be where?
I think the connected universe as well.
Okay, so the only one of the upcoming set releases that is not part of the connected universe is the Batman.
As far as I know, that is the case.
Okay. What about of the movies in development that you were talking about?
The only one that feels like, and this actually goes to a question we got in the Discord from Christoph628 with this Milestone revival. Do you hope to see any of those characters how likely do you think that is? We've got a Static Shock movie who's part of the Milestone imprint. He's probably the most famous character. In the comics right now, the Milestone imprint is very much separate from DC proper, so that also might be off in its own little pocket, which honestly would be kind of a bummer because I think that DC would really benefit from the Milestone characters. They're very diverse, they're very dynamic, they're very super engaging characters, and I think that would benefit them. I don't know if Sasha Calle's Supergirl is supposed to be from a different dimension, because again, Flash stuff, I don't know if she's from a different dimension or she's supposed to be this part of the same dimension with the Michael Keaton Batman, which again, god damn it, that's fucking confusing. And then there's the rumors of this val-zod series, which honestly feels like a long shot to me, other than the fact that Michael B. Jordan's producing and could possibly star. Like, I wouldn't put anything he pitched, I would green light. So I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
and then what happened to the Michael B. Jordan Superman movie?
That's this one. This val-zod character is val-zod is in the comics. He is an Earth 2 Superman. He's a black Superman from Earth 2, and so that could be that. And what's not on this?
What happened to it?
As far as I know, could be still happening.
Okay. Okay. They're really just trying to grasp what the next 5 years looks like here.
Yes.
So I feel pretty confident we know what this year looks like, right?
Yes.
We know that we are getting a ton of movies from DC.
Yeah.
We're definitely getting the Batman. That's coming in less than 2 months. So that's happening.
Crazy.
We've seen the trailers. We know it's coming. I don't think that Omicron's going to stop it. I think we're getting the Batman. Black Adam, we've seen some footage. I think this will happen. They need it to happen in order to figure out Shazam 2. So this seems like it's going to keep its release date, and that will be fine. The Flash, yeah. Aquaman 2, yeah. I see this year being those four all sticking their landing. What do you think?
I agree. The only outside possibility is maybe an Aquaman getting pushed, depending on if we get another wave in the fall, or excuse me, in the winter. But then again, Spider-Man fucking made all of the money, so I think.
And so did Aquaman 1.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's a sense there, and I feel like Batgirl, we've seen stuff. It's filming, and it's only going to HBO Max, so that makes it a little bit easier. I feel like that's solid. I feel like all these Shazam 2 and Blue Beetle also have solid release dates. Blue Beetle, I feel, is more likely to get pushed than Shazam, because again, Shazam's, as far as I know, is either filming or is in post. For ones that, and I feel like the Black Canary movie for HBO Max seems like a solid bet. The Amazon show, I don't think we're getting that. Our Man, I don't think we're getting that.
I actually do think we're going to get the Amazon show.
You do.
Yeah, I do.
Just because of the strength of the Wonder Woman brand right now?
Yeah, I think because of the strength of the brand, I think when you've got Patty Jenkins working on something, I think she's been able to push things over the edge. And we know that she went from being on a project to not on a project. So it seems like she has more free time. It seems like she's really sticking to this Wonder Woman camp right now.
Yeah,
so
doesn't she
still
have a Star Wars? Is she her Star
I don't
Wars
think
still
so.
Oh, that's a
right? Didn't it got pushed? And then she got disattached.
Oh, did she? That's a bummer. Anyway, we're not talking about Star Wars.
I think so.
Wonder Woman 3 is definitely going to happen. This Justice League Dark stuff with Zatanna and Constantine, which, by the way, I feel like I should just mention, part of the conversation with this John Constantine show is that they're looking for a non-white actor. And I know we love to cast our boy Raul Coley as Reed Richards. And I'm sure he would do great, but he would do really good as John Constantine. If we're specifically saying we want a John Constantine that's not as a non-white actor, that boy would do an excellent job, I think.
How are we doing as casting him as my husband?
Listen, we'll try and get him back on the show and see if we can make that happen for you.
Okay. Keep me posted.
But I just feel like the Justice League Dark stuff feels more nebulous to me, and I got to be honest with you, they're like, when I was looking at this stuff, they're like comparing it to like the Netflix shows, how we made the Defenders, and it's like that didn't quite go the way Netflix wanted. So I don't know if this is gonna. Here's the other thing that's kind of a wrench in the mix, because like the Marvel stuff, the movies and the shows are kind of bleeding together in a lot of ways. And there was that rumor. Was it a rumor or was it like whatever? It looks like CW is looking to maybe not be a thing anymore.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't a rumor. They made an official announcement that they were on the chopping block, but trying to sell.
Yeah. So how does that affect those shows? And could we be looking at another Marvel situation where they phase out those CW shows and now all shows are within this DC connected universe?
I don't know, because then that would have been a really good time for them to have a DC app.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Now they don't. The weird thing about the CW announcement was that the reason for the announcement was them saying that they have not made a profit since 2004 when the network was bought, which like I just don't understand how business works, I guess.
Well, and I agree with you, because when you say something like, or when you find out like some popular app has never made a profit and you're like, what the, and it just is a reminder that all that shit's fucking made up. Money is made up. And when you get to certain levels of not to get into that mess, but whenever you talk about NFTs or any of that bullshit and people are like, they sold for $1 million. It's fake. It's all fake. And so I don't know what that means. Clearly somebody's making money off those shows.
I announced this week that I want to start selling NFT blowjobs. DJ, I feel like I would make a killing.
Oh, that's great. Because it's not real. Anyway,
it's not real.
It's not real. It's like that fucking. You can buy the NFT of John Lennon's coat from this movie. I still own the coat, but you can get the digital whatever. Oh my God.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
That's because it's a scam. Anyway, I do have hope in that. So there's been rumors that a version of Nightwing will show up in this Batgirl movie, and it's like, yeah, do that. Because again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think the notion, a lot of the pushback with Justice League on its original release, it's like, oh, you need to release all the characters' movies first. I don't know that I agree with that. We've had team movies since the dawn of movies, and right. Justice League cartoons have been able to introduce those characters in a team in like 20 minutes or less. What I will say that I do think they would have benefited from that is, let's say you had your Zack Snyder's Man of Steel, and then you had a Matt Reeves Batman, and then you had a Patty Jenkins Wonder Woman, and then you had a James Wan Aquaman, and then you could look at that and be like, okay, what of this is working? Which of these people can we tap to do our Justice League movie? You know what I mean? You can test the waters. And right. So like you can have a Nightwing show up in Batgirl, see how audiences respond, and then go, ooh, Nightwing movie. You know what I mean? Like there might be benefit in going back to, I know Marvel has taken over the whole entire globe, but going back to the way things used to do and like see what characters people respond to, and then instead of just telling people this is a character you care about now, put Nightwing in a Batgirl movie, see how people respond, and then make a Nightwing movie. You know what I mean?
Totally. I totally know what you mean. It feels like DC on the one hand is saying we have more characters than just the Justice League. We don't need to focus on our Justice League characters. We have so many other people to choose from. And then on the other hand, they're saying we don't actually care about any of those other characters. So we're going to announce some things, but we're not actually going to make plans. And we need to do a Marvel Justice League characters now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Mixed messages for sure.
Which means that we're going to get some really good movies, and we're going to get some not good movies.
Yeah.
I think that's what it means. Like for as long as DC doesn't figure out it's not about the overall, it's about the singles, we're going to get some not good movies.
And that's fine. And I mean, oh man, I'm going to get hate for this. Like a lot of the Marvel movies, you know what I mean? Like are just fine, but like they're part of that superstructure, and so everybody goes and sees them and all that stuff. Because the flip side is like the Suicide Squad was like my favorite superhero movie of last year. You know what I mean? And that on a large level kind of functioned on its own. Like you don't need to have seen any of the other stuff, yet it clearly takes place in a universe where that other stuff exists. It's the same thing that's benefiting Peacemaker. Like we can do Batman exists. It's honestly, weirdly, it's the same thing that kind of benefits Doom Patrol. That show clearly exists in a universe with a Justice League. We're never going to see them.
I was thinking about this, DJ. Why do you think Peacemaker is so much more successful than Doom Patrol?
I think it's the prestige behind it, the money behind it. Yeah. I think it's got the James Gunn, and the James Gunn is running off of the Guardians of the Galaxy, so there's that prestige behind it. I wish like James Gunn like knew about Doom Patrol, was a fan, and maybe was like put in a cameo, because I think they're on a similar wavelength.
Yeah,
and I'd love to see that show like get the budget, get the Peacemaker budget, because I think it could. Listen, have James Gunn write an episode where Peacemaker shows up, get some of that James Gunn heat. But yeah, because of the James Gunn of it all, and it's coming off of a movie, it's getting a bigger promotional push, and it's got John Cena, so it gets more of that kind of promotion, because that's the other thing about it. Part of it is what we like, and part of it is what promotion tells audiences they're going to like, and this is, that's part of the game. We'll go into now what we would like to see, but before we do that, one more quick ad break. Okay, we are back from the ad break, and on the ad break, I brought up, because we're talking about the DC universe, as of this recording, I think it was just yesterday, Ezra Miller was in trending on Twitter, and Roxy's not gonna be able to guess what it is. So Ezra posted a Instagram video where he specifically calls out a specific branch of the KKK. Says this branch from this part of this state. If you want to hurt people, maybe kill yourself with your own guns, and if you don't, we'll do it for you. And so it's weird on multiple levels.
Wait, what?
Yeah, on the one hand.
And where did he do this? On socials?
Yeah, I saw it trending on Twitter, but I think he posted it on Instagram. And we get in the
is it down. I have to go see what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, see if you can find the link. I don't know where to find it, but it's weird on multiple levels, because on one, like, he's bashing on the KKK, which fuck those guys, so that's great. But he is threatening to murder people, which is weird, and also it is a specific branch of the KKK, and nobody on the internet seems to know why that specific branch. Solomon Meyer in the chat says, "Will Flash 2 be Ezra Miller versus the KKK? Do we think the fan he choked out was in the Klan?" Oh God, Ezra Miller, what the actual fuck? So while Roxy's looking that up,
I'm muting and listening to this. I'm muting and listening.
Well, she listens to that. What we're going to go into now is we're going to talk about what the future we would like to see with these movies, where we'd like to see them go. And I'm for those watching live, you could also see Roxy's face as she watches this Ezra Miller video.
I am so confused, DJ.
Right?
He's calls on and says, "How y'all doing?"
Yeah. He starts off kind of friendly.
It's me, Ezra. Wait, should I play this for the people, or they already heard it?
I think they've already heard it. I feel like they've already heard it. Yeah, maybe.
If you didn't, go find it on his Instagram. His caption even, like, can I tell you something fucked up?
Sure.
That might not be a good comparison, but he has like Kanye West energy here.
Yeah, I see that.
This is what the caption says. "Please disseminate this video to all those whom it may concern. This is not a joke. And even though I do recognize myself to be a clown, please trust me and take this seriously. Let's save some live now, okay, babies? Love you all, like, whoa."
Yeah, I go back to the Evangeline Lilly thing. I think celebrities as a concept was a mistake. I think putting people on pedestal is kind of a mistake. And it's like I don't hate on it, because it's like, fuck the KKK, but also what's going on?
I'm clicking on the comments right now because this is fucking nuts. And the second comment down, the first comment is the ring, and I was like, what ring? The second says,
oh, he's got the flash ring on.
Loving the flash ring.
Yeah.
That's what you guys got from this?
Yeah. It's all code for the Flash movie, Roxy. You didn't know?
DJ, what's happening here?
I think who's to say? Why did Evangelina out herself at being at this rally when she could have just as easily kept her mouth shut?
He said, "You know what y'all are doing."
Yes, we don't. I don't. Other than the general bullshit.
Are you saying what the KKK is doing, or?
But it's a specific branch.
Yeah. You know what y'all did. What?
Maybe he was invited to speak somewhere and he didn't know it was a KKK. I don't know. I don't know. It's inexplicable, but that boy is our Flash. And we can't change it. There's nothing we can do to change it.
I'm so baffled by this. What's happening? What is happening? And why does he look like he's in an episode of The Sopranos?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But let's, before we get entirely down that rabbit hole, because I don't think there's going to be
Why does Ezra Miller only have 47,000 followers?
Because he's posting weird shit like that.
He's the Flash.
He is the Flash.
This is so weird. DJ. I know you told me you don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but I feel betrayed by you right now. Here's why. Here's what you did. You said, "Here's the rabbit hole, Roxy."
Yeah.
Don't go down it. We
could save it for later.
The rabbit hole existed, DJ.
I should have waited for what we're into. But here we go. Now we're off into what we would like to see. Leonard Kim in the Discord. Moving forward. Wait, before we get to Leonard Kim, here's something I want to see. Roxy, do you want, where we want to see the DC Universe movies go? Do you want to see at the end of the Flash movie Ezra Miller be replaced by Grant Gustin in the Flash movies?
Yes, I want that. I love Grant Gustin. I didn't love Ezra Miller's performance, regardless of who he is as a dude, regardless of the choking out of the girl and whatever the fuck this video was. He was not my favorite performance. Although then he did pop on Grant Gustin's show.
Yes.
And that was my favorite. We had seen him. And
Agreed.
then he was in the Snyder Cut, and I liked him best there than I'd ever seen him. Not ever seen him in anything.
Yeah.
Ever seen him as the Flash.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I'm intrigued by him now. I just also think that
you also wouldn't want to be alone in a room with him.
Yes. Yeah. Straight up. Straight up. DJ.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's one of those that like, oh man, it'd be really cool to meet Tom Holland. He seems like a great guy. It'd be cool to meet him. Ezra Miller, it's like, stay 6 feet away.
Yeah, totally.
And that feels, when I said it, it feels hyperbolic, but then I remember, no, he really did choke a person and tackle them to the ground. So, you know. And
then we never, ever elaborated on that.
Nope. We sure didn't. That situation goes into the same category as the Ansel Elgort stuff. It's like, I guess we're just not talking about this ever again. I guess we're just all moving on with our lives. So
unbelievable.
Leonard Kim in the Discord says, moving forward, do you think the DCEW will try to create a new cinematic universe separate from the DCEU or try to forego the concept altogether? Also, what's your biggest hope, desire for the DCWB as we start getting these new projects to come to fruition? So I think this question is basically, are we kind of phasing out the DCEU as we knew it and maybe creating a new shared universe? And regardless of any of that, what would you like to see?
What I would like to see in real time is kind of different than what I'd like to see be able to show my kids. So I feel conflicted on this because part of me loves the fact that in 10, 20 years from now, 30 years, I don't know how long it's going to take me to have a family, but we'll see. I could sit down my kids and show them the Marvel movies, start to finish.
Yeah.
And it is like the most epic saga you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Even with some are looser, some are weaker links. It's like there are lists of the order you should watch this in.
Yeah.
But then I also just want the DC movies not to suck. So part of me is like, okay, would it be cool if somehow, and I don't even know if this is possible, but like we get Joaquin Phoenix appearing at the end of Robert Pattinson's movie and we break into our own Batman Joker. That doesn't even make sense, but
yeah, I know what
put
you
in
mean.
whatever analogy you want there. Like, would it be cool if somehow we do figure out a way to flashpoint in so that everybody's in the same thing, or multiverse it all together and get to this place where we can have one through line and everybody's involved and we move forward? Yeah, that'd be fucking sick in the future. But right now, I just want good movies. And it seems like the best way to do that is to not have this connective tissue be priority one. And
I think the other thing, I totally agree with that. And I think the other thing is obviously Marvel has made the connective tissue really work for them, but a lot of studios have struggled recreating that. But I think another thing DC has struggled with is differentiating itself from Marvel. It tried to do the Marvel thing pretty much verbatim with the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie. That didn't work. So then it went a very different direction by doing Zack Snyder and then doubling down on Zack Snyder, then tripling down on Zack Snyder, then bailing out on Zack Snyder. Anyway, that was, I think part of that was trying to go in a different direction, and they struggled with that for a variety of reasons. And so I think if I were them, and I'm sure not, but if I were them, I'd be like, let's just focus on making good movie, the Suicide Squad of it all. We have James Gunn. In the James Gunn instance, they're like, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And fortunately, he chose what was probably the strongest choice for him, which was Suicide Squad. But go and like, okay, so who was the strongest choice for a Green Lantern movie? Like maybe Bryce Dallas Howard did a good job making this Star Wars episode this week, and she did a good job of Mandalorian episodes. Bryce Dallas Howard, do you want a Green Lantern franchise? You know what I mean? Like see or whoever, see who has the good pitch, make a Green Lantern movie. Have the mandate be nothing in this movie needs to cancel out anything that's happened in the other movies, but it doesn't need to include any of it either. It can be its own thing. And then see how that does. And then do this Batgirl movie and see how that does. And then do you know what I mean? And then once we start getting a feel for it, it's like, okay, here's what's working. Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman's working. Jason Momoa's Aquaman's working. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker's working, but he can just be off in his own little plaything. I'm going to imagine we're going to leave March saying Robert Pattinson's Batman's working, and then slowly start to merge those things together. And it's like, yeah, it's not going to be the instant mega hit that we perceive Marvel as, but you got to remember, like Iron Man, super strong, really well received, really good, still beloved. Incredible Hulk was fine. Thor 1, I think, is not very good. Captain America was pretty good. Not as good as Iron Man, but pretty good, right? And so it's not like Marvel was like out of the gate, Avengers ready. There was a learning curve, and now they've hit a formula that they might need to tweak, but like is clearly working for them. So similarly, I know everybody wants to cash in their chips immediately and try and get the whole thing going, but like, I think the wait and see, like, and then sort of stuff that's trickier. Like, I really like Birds of Prey, but it wasn't as well regarded or received. But I liked it. I thought it was cool. That's my thought. See what works. Then maybe honestly, what I would say is like I know we're straight going into Flash hanging out with Michael Keaton and resetting the timeline. If it were me, I would have just done a Flash movie with him hanging out with the Rogues, see how that goes. Feel out, like if Robert Pattinson's Batman's working, then the second movie, Flash reset stuff, and guess what? Robert Pattinson's now in our universe. He's hanging out with fucking Henry Cavill's Superman.
Yeah, totally.
And I don't even think people they're getting so much shit for like the Zack Snyder of it all. It's like, you honestly don't need to like. You don't need to pick at it. You don't need to do anything that cancels out. Because again, functionally, tonally, those movies are pretty different. Plot wise, they're not that different. You know what I mean? So you could just kind of move on as if either one dealer's choice, other than the fact that Mira doesn't have that weird British accent anymore. We're just moving on from that. And other than that, I don't think there's anything necessarily canceling out anything from what was built there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Totally. I wonder what the conversations in their room are like.
I don't know. And I also, the one thing I would definitely steal from Marvel is their ability to keep shit on lock. Like, listen, We're not announcing stuff till it's ready. None of our actors are going to say shit. Ezra Miller knows he's not going to fucking choke people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know whether it's just that whoever's doing the casting over at Marvel is that good. Because like, think about, I mean, like, we've got the Evangeline Lilly and the Letitia Wrights of it, but like, is that really the worst of it? Like, is that like,
I don't
know. But like, for the most part, man, the relatively low controversy, give or take an announced Inhumans movie. They do the thing they say they're going to do. That is something I would steal from them. Like, listen, we're not doing big slate wide announcements until we're ready, until we've earned that.
Totally.
I don't know. Those are our thoughts on the DCEU.
DCEU?
EU? Is it the D? I don't know. I'm excited for honestly, though, that I will say all these movies that they've got announced, I'm looking forward to on some level or the other. The Flash is probably the biggest question mark for me for stuff we've already mentioned. But like, I really liked Aquaman, so I'm excited for Aquaman 2. I'm very excited to see what they do with Black Adam. The teaser they gave was fucking dope. Looking forward to Batman, Shazam 2. Like, and again, that's why it's like, as they try to edge back to the connected universe, it's like, maybe don't, because I'm actually looking forward to all the things you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, I wish Shazam 2 wasn't as far away as it is.
It's shocking, especially considering they have a young cast. It's shocking, the gap between Shazam 1 and Shazam 2.
Yeah, totally.
Like, what was the littlest girl? Was it Carla? Was that the youngest one?
That's Faith Herman.
Yeah, she's going to be like in college by the time that movie comes out.
Totally.
Anyway, before we go, Roxy, remind the kids at home where they can find you.
Everywhere at Roxy Stryer and The World Girls, youtube.com/The World Girls.
You can find me at DJ Talks Trash, and you can find this show everywhere that matters at Only Stupid Answers, but on Twitter.
You ain't got the vowels from stupid.
That will be it for us this week, and tune in next week for more. See y'all then. Bye-bye.